Well guys, welcome back to another Scrapping Irish video, and this one's a little bit different if I get it finished and in time, or regardless if I get it finished in time or not, I'm still going to put it up. But it may not turn out, it might turn out a total disaster, and then will I put it up or won't I put it up would be the question. So where do I start with this video? It all started with Ian Matthews, of course, where most good things start. And Mr. Ian Matthews and a few of his friends came up with this idea of testing people's skills on their crafts or what they're good at making or something like that. So, as everyone knows, Ian is good at his little wood burners, and a few of the other, like Guido does his lamps, and Baggett's Corner and stuff like that. They all have their little niches and they're all fairly good at their little crafts, but they didn't want to give in to each other. So no one wanted Ian, they didn't want to do a competition. Not a competition, sorry, not a competition. They didn't want to do this little thing to see and not give an advantage to another person. So they decided to pick something random. And what they came up with was a fish. That's it, a fish. To make a fish out of any way you wanted to do it. And there's no winner, no losers, it's a bit of fun. But everyone knows there's going to be a bit of bragging rights for the people that get it done. So what did I wasn't going to go into it because I was saying crafts and me, I'm not very good at making stuff. Good at dismantling stuff, breaking it up, taking it apart, no problem. But making something, so I was the kind of guy at school that if there was crafts day, I ended up with the craft probably stuck to me with the glue. It was ended up glued to my hands or glued to my head, or maybe I might have been sniffing the old Bostik glue. Great smell off that stuff, if everyone knows, in school. So the lollipop stick things were always a bit of a disaster for me. I never really came home with any little gift and said, here you go, look what I made in school today. It kind of never got finished, or I was too busy messing. So crafts were not something I'm very good at. So I decided I'll give it a go for the fun of it. So what have I decided to do? I've come up in my head and I'm going to do a fish, of course, which is the name of the competition. So I'm going to make my fish out of computer parts, of course. So we've all my little platters from the hard drives, and we've got the bits of computers and little bits of, I don't know, boards and chips and magnets and wire and you name it, and I have it here in bits left over from dismantling computers. So we have bits of plastic and stuff like that. So the next problem is, what type of fish am I going to do? So I've come up with a few templates of a fish, and I haven't decided yet, and I'm still not 100% sure which one I'm going to go with. So we have a little template there of that type of fish, so something maybe like him, make him up, or we've got something a little more aggressive, something like that type of fish. So my plan is then, after I make my fish, I'm going to put him into an epoxy resin. Never worked with epoxy resin before. From all I've seen online, seems to be straightforward. So I've ordered my epoxy resin. That's why I'm saying it may not come in time for this video. So again, I have some timber that I will be using to transfer my fish onto. Okay, so we'll be putting the fish on there, cutting them out of the timber, and then going from there with the computer parts of making that fit the fish, of course. So bits of whatever to do for his head, maybe some LED for lights, maybe break these up and use these as scales, nice silvery scales when they're all broken up, these little platters. So something like that. And when it's encased in the epoxy resin, the plan is maybe to have a bit of scenery in that epoxy resin made out of bits from computers again. So maybe have some some electrical wire coming up and have some little LED lights on top. They won't be lighting up because I'm not that skillful, but maybe have the colours, the red, the blues from taking out of stuff such as boards and stuff, because some of these boards have LED lights. They used to have LED lights on them that used to light up, but I'll remove them and I'll make use of them somewhere else, maybe in it, and have some of these little blue epoxy coated MLCCs and tantalums and stuff like that, and use all that as part of it. And the little twist in it, I plan on maybe embedding a wireless phone charger, so it's not just going to be of no use afterwards. It's not just going to be put up on the mantelpiece and left there, because I know it'll be a work of art, of course. But I'm going to embed, hopefully, a wireless charger into it. A little thin wireless charger, so you can leave your phone down on top of it and it charges your phone as well. So it has a use. So that's going to be the plan. And you never know, Ian Matthews, I may even embed your Rolex watch into it. We might put a little treasure chest in there and put your Rolex watch in there, but I don't think I'll do that to your watch. So the first thing I'm going to have to do, guys, is I'm going to have to make the little case to hold the epoxy resin. So it's going to be a little, well, let's go and make it. Why not just go straight away and make it, and hopefully I'll decide which fish I'm going to go with. I don't know, is that too big of a fish in the middle of it, or is he a too aggressive fish? But we'll see. I'm leaning towards that fish. He'd be a bit more work for me to do, but he looked pretty cool. But you never know, I might come up with a way of doing him and making him look cool. So guys, let's go now and put together the case for the epoxy resin to be poured into. That's the first thing I'm going to have to do, and then I'll have to make my fish, and then I'll have to make my scenery and put all them into the case, wait for the epoxy resin to come and pour the epoxy resin over it, and also put the wireless charger in and try and get it a way that it can work, and hopefully the epoxy doesn't stop it from working. There's a lot of stuff there, so I may have taken on a bit more than I should have on this challenge, because my brain knows what it wants to do and my creative thoughts inside one of them, but these hands aren't made for crafting. So guys, let's go and get that case put together. Okay, so here's what I'm going to be making my frame for pouring the epoxy into. So it's a 300 by 300 piece of timber with 2-inch strips that'll be stuck along the side here. So all I'm going to do to start it off with is I'm just going to put a few blobs of a silicone adhesive so that I can stick it together with. So I'm hoping this silicone will not have a reaction with the epoxy when I go to put the epoxy in. So hopefully it doesn't. So I have, so again, just a couple of blobs along the, just to stick it together, and then we'll, because I'll be sanding out down the epoxy frame anyhow once it's done, or the epoxy, not the frame, but the actual. So, there we go. So just a little bit of epoxy, or not, silicone, use the right words. So this is just to create the frame that the epoxy will be poured into, to give me my, it's just to keep the epoxy essentially in one location and not have it going all over the place. Just a little bit of the adhesive silicone. So all I have to do now is let this dry in place. And so once it's dried and set, we can go on to the next stage. So I'm going to let that set overnight, and we'll be ready for what I plan on doing next in here. So let's go on to the next stage. So while I'm waiting for my this box to dry out fully, I've decided next stage will be to do my fish. So I was deciding whether to go that way or him. So in the end we decided to go with him. So he's gone. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a Sharpie and I'm going to draw the outline of my fish. So again, I'm going to try and hold it as steady as I can. I'm just going to run outside of my fish. It can be all sanded afterwards, but just to get the rough outline of the fish. I'm not very creative doing these drawings. I hope I'm not blocking the view with my head, but it's just a matter of, I could have taped this down actually, I should have taped this down to make it easier. And it's just to get the outline of the fish done on some timber, a little piece of thin plywood, or cover board or backing board, whatever you want to call it. So I just have to try and keep them in the one spot so we don't get our lines all mixed up everywhere, and work around the camera at the same time. Again, as I say, it's going to be just a rough outline because I'll be cutting them out, and then I'll be hopefully either sanding them down to get the proper shape with the teeth. I haven't decided how I'm going to get the teeth done, what I'm going to use for teeth on it. Talk among yourselves there, guys, while I'm doing this. So there's the rough outline of my fish. So he mightn't look quite as he does there, but hopefully when we get him all the bits sharpened up on him, he should look a bit better. So next stage is to cut him out. So again, we'll go on to that stage and we'll see how we get on cutting them out. Off camera, I'll just get these lines a bit better, and we'll be ready to go with the next part. Right, so I have cut out the fish as good as I can with the coping saw and the Dremel and stuff like that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sand it all down to thin lines and get the shapes into it. And then we're going to mark off the fin, where the fin is there, and then again the tail here, down here, and this little bit of a fin here, because I'm going to do them in a different type of thing. So what I'm going to do for them, I'm not going to show you me sanding it down. When you see this next, it'll be sanded down and it'll be ready for these to be. So I'm going to smash these platters up. So they're out of hard drive. So here comes some of the e-waste stuff. So these platters, I'm going to smash them up so we have a nice silver. And we're going to do silver in there, bar the teeth, which will be white. We'll have silver, we'll get a little eye for them. And we'll have our fins done in a different shade. So I'm going to do with some of these platters have like a purpley tinge to them, or CDs have a purpley tinge to them, so I'm going to use them for the fins. So let's go and get on to the next stage, guys. Okay, so I have smashed up the platters into little bits and pieces. So there's some really small bits and some bigger pieces, and here's my fish. So what I've decided now is I'm going to give him an eye. So for the eye, I've got one of these black cap things, epoxy things that you usually see covering on the boards. So we're going to give that as his eye for a start. We'll just put a little dab of silicone on the back of it so that it can stick to it. Sorry, I'm doing this off screen, but you know what I'm doing. It's just a bit of silicone. Okay. And all I'm going to do is put that down. Doesn't matter if the silicone comes out from under it, because I'll be using that silicone in a minute, as you'll see for what I'm going to do next. Okay, so, and then we have a little red LED light. So that's just off a router or something like that. So I'm just going to put a little dab of silicone again on that. And put that in the center for his little red beady eye. So, as you can see, that's his eye done. So inside of here, these lines is going to be what I'm going to use these for, the little platter things, and then outside on his fins, I'm going to use different colours. Hopefully, I think I have some smashed up here from CDs and stuff like that, so they're slightly different tinge. You can see there they come off as a different colour, so hopefully that will distinguish between them. So you can see there the difference, hopefully. So that will be his fins and that will be his main body. So for his main body, the way I'm going to do it again is I'm going to put some silicone on, spread it around there, just inside of here. So we put a blob there, and all I'm going to do then is just spread it around as best I can, just to make it tacky, so that the platters will stick to it, the bits of platter will stick to it. I plan on painting the teeth white because I couldn't think of anything else to do with the teeth on them. So all I'm doing is just making it tacky around it so that the bits of platter will stick to it. So as you can see, my skills aren't the best, as I said already on the video. I was the kind of guy that would get stuck to most of the projects that I tried to make in school. So, and I'm hoping that the epoxy doesn't have a reaction with the silicone. Because if it does, I'm in trouble, big trouble then, and you will probably never get to see this video. So I'll just spread it over his tails, everything, so that there's a bit everywhere. We'll just add a small blob more. Again, you can wear gloves if you want, but because this is so small and tedious, I just decided not to wear gloves, because again, I might find something white yet to make his teeth out of. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is get some of the, put them back into focus there for you. So all we're going to do is get some of these and just stick them randomly around. Actually, I might put some gloves on now because I don't want to be leaving too many marks on the glass, but I can wash it off at the end anyhow. But yeah, I'll stick on some gloves, so I'll just pause it there while I do that. Okay, so gloves are on, and I'm just going to start dropping these, and we'll start moving them around as need be. So again, we don't want it going up into the top there. So you don't need to see me do all this. You get the drift of what I'm doing. So I'm going to either speed it up, or I'm just going to cut it at that, and stick these on, because it's a bit awkward trying to do it behind the camera because I can't reach in and get the sizes I want. So I'm going to stop it there and get all the bits I need, and you get the gist of what I'm doing. Right guys, so this is the end of part 1 of the video, and so far so good. Everything seems to be going as planned, but you can never can tell what's in store in the part 2. Now, if some of you are watching this or may have seen me on some other videos, you may already know what has happened, because I may have already gone far. I don't know, you know what I mean. So yeah, I decided to cut it to 2 parts because it was going to be a very long video if I didn't. So that's part 1, guys. Part 2 should be on hopefully within a couple of days. If not, it'll be on in a week's time. But you know, it might be my next Thursday video or something like that. But yeah, so that's it, guys. So far so good. So hopefully it continues on that way, and we'll see how it turns out. So thanks for watching, guys, this video. Give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and check out part 2 and see how we get on with it.